What is going on, everybody? Chris and Frankie back here, Three Amigos podcast, 2 out of 3. And today we're talking about the new Godzilla King Kong movie, New Empire, just came out. We just saw it and we wanted to get our thoughts down. Frankie is the resident Godzilla super fan.
Super fan.
And to reiterate, Godzilla's name is the first one in the title of this movie.
hmm
So, Frankie, I throw it to you, my friend. What are your immediate reactions? We just got home,
hmm
saw the movie a couple hours ago. What did you think?
We let it marinate. I sat on the train for about 30, 40 minutes, let it think it over. Texted some people, uh,
Mm-hmm.
some
Mm-hmm.
friends that saw it with us, gave some
Mm-hmm.
thoughts. And and right as soon as we left, you were immediate to ask me, hot take right now, fresh out the theater, what is your take? And I think it was hot garbage. No, I was kidding. It was awful. Don't watch this movie. No. If you're a monster fan, you'll still love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Somehow, some way, Godzilla versus Kong was able to please critics, but I could see this movie not pleasing them for some reason. And I'm already seeing some chatters of scores.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine because this movie's only meant for a certain type of people, a certain fan, a certain group of people, a certain individual, a collective group. And that's for people like me, even you, I would say. Um, so this movie I thought was good overall. It wasn't, I think personally, I like Godzilla versus Kong more. It gave me something, I can't like it didn't capture what I felt for Godzilla versus Kong. And
Mm-hmm.
my only complaint about Godzilla versus Kong was that I wish there was a I hate saying this, but like because this was like this is gonna be a back and forth criticism each time. Is that there was just like a throwaway thing in Godzilla versus Kong for or JVK. I'm not gonna keep saying Godzilla versus Kong. So JVK is what I'll refer to as Godzilla versus Kong. So in JVK, there was a throwaway, like pretty important character in there, which I'm not gonna get into.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. Like they just threw it away. The other thing was like I wish there was maybe a bit more, I guess, shown for the Hollow Earth at that time. However, the Hollow Earth is completely it's the star of the show, essentially. It's more so than Godzilla, Kong, any other monster or any other character. It takes fully place in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah,
Uh,
solid 70-80% of the movie.
yeah, and that's awesome. So they took that and added it. However, they decreased everything else in my opinion. I thought there was less fights in this one, which made me big sad. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just a bit, I guess. And the one thing is like there was definitely and noticeably, and we're gonna do spoilers now. I feel like it.
Well,
Prefaces,
I
spoiler.
still want to give my non-spoiler reaction.
Sure,
I'll let you
because like I feel like I'm touching spoiler territory by saying, and so you have three,
your
two,
toe
one.
is on the line, man.
Yeah,
You
no,
are.
3, 2, 1. Stop listening. There's definitely less Godzilla in all this. There's definitely a lot less Godzilla. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though he's clearly in the title first, Kong next.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably my biggest gripe. He gets this fancy new form that they hype up. That's pretty much towards the end of the film, and we only get to enjoy it for like 5 minutes, if that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the movie itself, like, uh, I thought the story it made sense for the most part. There's some things obviously it's just ex machina, for convenience purposes. And guess what? That's all monster movies, all these hero things. It's
Hmm.
always going to be convenience sakes. So I could ignore and forgive a lot of this stuff. Um, I think I wanted to see more of the Scar King. I wish he would have appeared more, or maybe even
Hmm.
earlier. I feel like he should have appeared earlier on.
Yeah, I would heavily agree.
Thank
They
you.
waited way too long to introduce that.
Because he was pretty scary. I mean, the design was phenomenal. They did a phenomenal job with the
Hmm.
design.
Hmm.
They could have even his pet monster, Shimu. They they could have done a better job. of like prefacing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even like I wish they would have even gotten into some of the lore because it's the theory that from Godzilla King of the Monsters,
Mm-hmm.
the reason King Ghidorah, the alien monster, the three-headed dragon, was frozen solid, it was because of Shimu.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish they would have gone into that lore more.
Mm-hmm.
Shimu's clearly a ginormous monster. It almost like it's probably bigger than Godzilla, definitely longer.
Very powerful too. Yeah.
Very powerful, has a very powerful move. I like the introduction. I think, it's clearly not it's honestly the monster itself could have probably had its own movie, just because
Mm-hmm.
of how powerful and menacing it looked. It has a phenomenal, fantastic design. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Slaps, high fives all around with a lot of the creature designs, honestly. They hit it out the park. CGI was phenomenal again. They did a great job. Um, yeah, this movie has, I think there's a lot of positives. Obviously, there's a bit more negatives in compared to, in my opinion, JVK. But New Empire,
Mm-hmm.
um, it sets up the table for it to be, just that, like a new empire of monsters that are under the Hollow Earth and essentially another layer to that Hollow Earth, which is pretty cool. And like they didn't leave too much to see where it was gonna go. But then again, that's what they did with JVK. I thought that was it,
Mm-hmm.
and that was perfectly fine. But then they decided, yeah, we're gonna do it, and then they dropped randomly some concept art, and then we got the trailer, and everyone lost their shit because that fucking trailer was fucking awesome. It hyped me up. The battle was honestly good. It was still good. It wasn't as I think as amazing as they hyped it up to be. Again, because it's their fault for putting it towards the end, and it only lasted for what, 5, 10 minutes, which is
It's
fine, I
really
guess.
short, man. I was gonna say I really had to pee, so I kept checking my watch
Hmm.
because I knew how long the movie was.
Hmm.
And there was a point when I think we were about hour and 20 minutes in.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the movie's listed at like an hour and 55.
Right.
And they still hadn't given Kong his like robot arm.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're gonna get like a really speed ran final fight, aren't we? Because like
Yeah.
there's like big parts of the plot that have not, granted they like introduced the robot arm really fast.
Relatively, yeah.
Within, I would say that entire sequence is within like less than 5 minutes. They identify that they have to go get the arm. The guy goes to get it, brings it back, hooks
Ex
it onto
Machina.
King Kong. He stands up and starts using it,
Yeah.
and which is fine. I mean, again, like you said, a lot of Deus Ex Machina, just like,
Hmm.
whoa, it just so happened that robot arm was right at that one outpost that we saw earlier. Can
Well,
you
I'll give
believe that?
that.
Yeah, which I think this is like such a small thing. Um, we're in spoiler zone here. Not that many characters in this movie die. A lot of innocent civilians die.
Yeah.
But
Per
because
usual.
they just leveled Brazil. It's like the whole
Yeah.
the whole country of Brazil is just gone.
I mean, I feel like Godzilla leveled a lot just to like, in the name of the planet, I will
Dude,
kill you while
the
also
funniest
killing
thing was
civilians.
they were like, Godzilla's like, he's on our side, and then I see him just like destroying Italy and Rome,
And
just
then
like on a casual
he
walk.
fucking
He's just like destroying all of the
he
bridges. I'm like,
claimed the
okay.
Colosseum as his new fucking bed. That's hilarious. Honestly, I really like that. The fucking
But
writers just smacked themselves across the chest for that.
this was such a small thing, but the pilot, who I can only imagine was with them because he's like the best pilot ever,
Sure.
uh, dies or gets eaten by some tree monster.
Hmm.
Nobody really grieves about this,
No.
which is kind of funny. Like they don't
Yeah.
even reference him really after.
Yeah.
But the thing that I thought was when that happened, I was like, oh, they're gonna do like well, what the fuck, guys? We lost the pilot. Like,
Hmm.
does anyone even know how to fly this thing? And I was like, yeah, apparently the dentist guy knows. So
The vet.
no problem. It's just like, okay. Yeah, a lot of I could see in the writer's room, they're just like, shit. I guess the dentist knows how to fly it. Whatever.
Hmm.
The dentist was working on a robot arm for some reason. It was his
Yeah.
idea. I don't know. Uh,
He's a vet, not a dentist, technically.
sure, sure.
Just
Yeah,
for
this is
Kaiser.
here, I don't want to say this is a bad movie. I do think that we are treading on very thin ice right now.
Ooh. Ooh.
Of getting bad Transformers.
Mm.
Like the Transformers movies, I feel they tread this very thin line of like they're sometimes they're like almost terrible, but there's just enough dumb fun to be like, that was
Mm.
good.
Yeah.
And I think Godzilla versus Kong, I was like, this is legit just a great movie. Like this is a fucking blast. Um, I don't give a shit about the human story.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the King of the Monsters, which ironically, I have somehow now seen three of the four Godzilla MonsterVerse movies. I don't even know
Hmm.
how this is happening. But there is some comical exposition in this movie,
Yeah.
almost as
Yeah.
if they don't think people are watching all of the movies.
Uh-huh.
Like at one point, the girl's like, a whatever stepmom or
Yeah.
the woman who takes her in, literally like it's almost like she was reading a script, explains what is happening and what is going to. This is again, this was just one of those moments where I felt like they were treating the audience like we were idiots that
Mm.
hadn't been paying attention to the movie this entire time. But she said something along the lines of like, "Oh, they're taking the girl to, contact Mothra so that Mothra can help Godzilla and King Kong defeat this one giant ape who's going to try to get to the surface and destroy the." I'm like, "Wait,
Mhm.
I know, bitch, I know. I've been watching the whole fucking movie." It was, I hate exposition. I hate
Right, right,
like
right.
obvious exposition. And man, the humans just felt like such a buzzkill in this movie. Like, look, the movie's name Godzilla X Kong. Godzilla's barely in the movie. This is predominantly a King Kong sequel, like to I don't know, Skull Island or something. I'm,
Hmm.
I'm not really sure what I don't really know what's going on in this MonsterVerse right now. It does seem like um there's a lot of studio interference happening
Yeah.
because whenever these movies clock in right under 2 hours,
Hmm.
that feels like heavy, heavy edits, heavy cuts. Somebody with power walked in because I went back and I checked that King of the Monsters was almost 2 hours and 20 minutes. And the next two movies were both under 2 hours, 153 and 155.
Hmm.
That seems like a mandate. That seems like somebody was like, has to be under two. I don't care what you have to cut out. And I feel like if they were going to be told to cut
Yeah.
anything, if they were going to be told to shorten anything, it's the expensive ass CGI monster fights, which to me feels like these fights are getting shorter is because they're being told they have to make them shorter. Because they're also introducing more characters, which is just a lot to animate King
Hmm.
Kong and Godzilla and the Scar King and Mothra and that ice beast.
Shimu.
All in the same. I mean, they're not in the same frame that often, but they are in the same scene for, I don't know, the last 10 minutes of the movie. And that felt like if they were being told to cut anything, they were told to cut an extra 10 minutes out of that fight, which is just kind of a bummer because that's what I wanted to see. Like,
Hmm.
okay, there was a certain point in this movie where when it happened, I was like, that is worth price of admission. This moment makes the entire previous 90 minutes where nothing happens totally worth it. It's when so we've all seen the meme from the trailer where King Kong and Godzilla, land and they start running together. For some reason, Godzilla's running like a person, which just
Hmm.
looks kind of funny. Like they weren't sure how
Hmm.
to animate Godzilla sprinting.
Yeah.
So they were like, I don't know, just kind of like a person would run. Like, okay. When King Kong gets onto Godzilla's back, with the axe,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Scar King is on the back of the ice monster,
Mm-hmm.
and they're running at each other, and King Kong hops off, and Scar King hops off, and they both rear back like they're about to fight. Like,
Mm-hmm.
worth it. That moment was one of the greatest
Yeah.
like hype moments. It's like sometimes they show the hype trailer moment, and you're like, God damn it, you gave it away.
Yeah.
But it was like, no, they cut before they showed you the real hype moment,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which is Godzilla, King Kong riding on Godzilla. That was awesome. That was awesome. I almost don't care about anything else. I don't want to be critical of anything else because that one moment just made this whole thing worth it. That was awesome. Like that's the kind
Spoken.
of goofy stuff that I want from these movies. Because
Yeah.
I rib you about the growing divide between the Japan Godzilla and what we have done to Godzilla in the West,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
present day. Because the old Japanese movies looked a little goofy, but we have fully memeified Godzilla here. He's an Avenger. He's a superhero. Uh, it's basically what they're doing. They're building the monster
Isn't
Avengers.
it
I don't know.
crazy that after the credits it was like Godzilla and Kong return in Avengers Age of Ultron 2?
I don't know how to phrase it other than like the end of this movie is quite literally they are assembling the monster Avengers. Um, yeah, but I think the last like 20 minutes of this movie is really what I think we both just wish another 20 minutes of the movie was just
Mm-hmm.
more monster. I mean, especially more Godzilla, man. God damn, this is like a King Kong solo movie up until the end. Um, but yeah, just I wanted more dumb monster
Mm-hmm.
action, because I know that these movies they're not like the most well written. That's not what they're putting their energy into. So I have like kind of a low bar. I'm not looking for like the
Mm-hmm.
craziest sort of story, which almost is to the point where I don't want a story at all. I just want like, Godzilla's storing up energy or
Yeah.
something, and he kind of uses it. They don't really explain what the point of his early like monster hunting was. But I mean they explain it, but then it doesn't really like tie in as much as
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would. Um, but hey, the last 10 minutes of this movie are awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
It truly is.
It's enjoyable. I still think it's enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, where do you think where are they headed from here? Like what's next in the
Well,
MonsterVerse?
as our buddy Kel, who came with us to the movie, he's like, they should just do all monsters attack, and I'm like, yeah, I feel like that's what they're aiming to do
Mm,
and could do because it is regarded as one of the better Godzilla films, I think, in my opinion.
hmm
Um, it's one of my favorites. I have a few posters of them. I have a fucking collection set from that movie. It is one of my favorite because I love monsters. I love seeing all of them. I love the new original monsters that they're creating. Um, some of those beasties look really cool. And I thought originality was dead. I mean, you could argue some of these monsters aren't that original. That's fine, but their design, money. It works for this universe. Keep it coming. So I think that's what they're gonna go for, is just they're gonna keep doing it. Um, you know, I don't think they'll care so much about what the critics have to say. It's all about what the what the dollar signs are at this weekend. So this will be very telling.
mm,
And technically, this is the first Godzilla film in America since Godzilla versus Kong, which no, excuse me, King of the Monsters, which was in 2019. So
mm,
6 years ago. Oh, sorry, 4 year, 5 years ago.
mm.
Because yeah, JVK did not get into theaters, and man, that would have been so awesome to watch in movie
Oh,
theaters. Watching him fucking defeat and fight with Kong to defeat Mechagodzilla, like, ugh,
dude. Travesty.
yeah, pandemic ruined a lot. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think where they're going from here is just I think they're gonna reach a point where I think they're okay to make a story, and by story I mean just put all the fucking monsters on screen, man. Just get
Hmm.
Rodan back, uh bring Space Godzilla in. And they kind of alluded to that in a way by fucking there. I don't know if you missed it. I know you don't know anything about Godzilla, but there is a Space Godzilla. Like aliens cloned him and
Awesome.
in the 90s.
Yep.
And they talked about something talking about that with you said that the monster, the king that ate a star, I think. And so like that's interesting. Like
Mm.
that was never a reference in anything in terms of any of the other films. So they're alluding to like that there's a space Godzilla. Are we bringing in aliens? Because I know people will start rolling their eyes once aliens are introduced,
Hmm.
but it's part of Godzilla goofiness. I don't
Yeah.
know. I think a giant robot. Oh, there is that, you know, idea because technically Legendary owns both of them. That's Pacific Rim. Bring in a Jaeger.
Hmm. Hmm.
You could do that crossover potentially. You sell more toys.
Does anyone still care about this? Like, I feel like they might have missed the boat on the Pacific Rim crossover opportunity.
I feel like they would care.
Like, I'm not
Like
saying that they wouldn't still do it because we literally just saw a Transformers movie where they referenced G.I. Joe as if anyone gives a shit.
that was
So I
wild.
wouldn't put it out of their like
Right.
realm of decision making, but Pacific Rim was definitely hype when it was like, at least the first one.
Hmm.
Um, but that almost feels like that should have happened 5 years ago,
Sure.
which they could, I mean, they could still bring it back, but yeah. So I did want to ask you because I don't know. I have a very loose grasp on the MonsterVerse. But so I mean, obviously I know like the iconic ones were not created for the movie. But were some of those monsters not from the like original like MonsterVerse or whatever? Like it's the
Scar.
one that Godzilla goes to kill in like Antarctica.
Oh yeah.
Was
That
that was that an original one?
I would I the way they named it came off as it is original, but it looks like it's a nod to one. So I would
Okay,
say yes and no. But I also think they it is yeah, I would say it's more original than anything. Funny
gotcha.
enough though, I think that monster made an appearance in one of the comics for like the Godzilla MonsterVerse universe. So
Mm,
I actually when I have to go back and see if I can find a picture of it and do a comparison, but it looked kind of the same.
mm.
So they have an expanded universe for some of these things. So it's cool.
I have another question here as
Yeah.
we think about the future of this. So I'm trying to think now. Are they sort of like I'm trying to understand what their plan is with these two characters because
Hmm.
now they've put them in the same movie back to back times. I would I don't remember Godzilla versus Kong well enough, but it did feel like Godzilla was in more of that movie or played like a bigger role. In
Yeah.
this movie, he plays kind of just like the muscle, like the backup.
Hmm.
Um, and this movie felt like it had a lot more King Kong.
Hmm.
And so now I'm wondering, like, do you think are they sort of alternating? Do you think the next one is gonna be more of is it possible for them to go back to just Godzilla on his own now, or is this like we're now in this Godzilla, Kong, Mothra, got King Kong's new girlfriend, his adopted son? Like, are they just is this the new future of these movies? They'll all be like monster buddy up movies now?
Potentially.
Yeah.
It's quite possible that this could be that. Um,
Feels like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like now that you put them in the same movie twice
hmm.
and they're both still alive
Yeah.
and they're both like stronger than they've ever been. It's, I mean, I guess technically Kong is in Hollow Earth, but now I can't envision, now that they have all those portals, can't envision a scenario where King Kong would just like not help if there was like an Earth threat.
Yeah, like an invasion. Potentially,
Yeah.
potentially. I think it's still possible that they could do another Godzilla movie. I think people want Godzilla movies. However, after the success of Minus One, I think any solo Godzilla films should just go to Japan, whether it's Hero or or anti-hero or full-blown villain monster, which it should just be villain monster, um, by all means, I think it could be split. We can have both. We can both have dinner and dessert because we just had Godzilla -1 in end of November, beginning of December, which was what? Let's see if I could do quick maths. February, January. That was 3 months ago. 3 to 4 months
Yeah,
ago. That's
one of the
crazy.
greatest movies ever made, really.
Exactly.
You know,
And
it's so funny. Me and Kel were talking
mhm,
after the movie, and we both sort of like were throwing this idea around of like I don't know if I mean this is just me speculating, but
mhm,
like, is there some sort of either agreement or plan that the Western Godzilla movies are gonna be sort of like goofy CGI, like monster bashing movies where he's like an Avenger, and Japan is going to sort of rebrand him as like the original, like, atomic bomb metaphor that he's been.
mhm,
And they're gonna like leave Japan to do the serious Godzilla stuff, and the West is gonna do the like he's a superhero now. And or he's like Goku and he gets a new form every single movie. Like
yeah,
so because it does sort of feel like they're in a place where like you're not gonna like why would they want to be their own competition? Like why
right,
make a serious Godzilla movie in English if everyone is then going to be like, well, it's not -1.
right,
It's like, why are you even doing this? Like, why don't you go
mhm,
back to doing like the goofy team up movies?
mhm,
I do, which I think honestly would be a good plan if they like sort of separate
yeah,
because you do want them to have like their own feel. Like you go to these
yeah, yeah,
ones, you
yeah,
know that you're getting, 2 hours of monster beat 'em up shenanigans.
mhm,
And then you go to a Japanese Godzilla movie and at least currently, that you're gonna get some sort of like introspective, uh
mhm,
just like
metaphor.
emotional roller coaster of a film.
Yep, yep,
Which I think would be kind of good if there was like almost like this is the Elseworld. This is the
mhm,
Elseworld Godzilla where he's like a part of the Justice League
yeah,
and not a reference to the Batman cover you sent me. But
yeah,
and then, in Japan, you know that you're getting like Oscar worthy uh filmmaking. But I don't know. Do you think that they sort of, now that Godzilla's in this like it's kind of having a renaissance,
mhm.
at least in the mainstream, like did they try to keep the two versions of Godzilla separate?
I think so. I don't like. I think it was kind of a happy accident this happened. I think it was planned slash, you know, it's hard. It's hard to not to ask these questions and not assume. But for me personally, I just think this was a very happy accident that worked out in both favors. Um, and I just like how both are separate, exist in their own separate worlds. Um, I think you're right. I think the way you're phrasing is how I would phrase it or frame it. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think
No,
if
no.
you're a fan of both, you're a fan of both. If you're a fan of one or the other, if you think one is superior, sure, that's your opinion, but I like both and I can have both. And I'm just happy that we live in a fucking world where I had two Godzilla movies in the span of 3 fucking months. That is fucking incredible.
Pretty insane, yeah.
I'm living the best version of my life. No alternate universe, I think, could give this to me.
You're in the alternate
I
universe.
am in the
You
alternate.
tripped and fell into it, man, and now
I
there's
know.
Godzilla every three
Yeah,
months.
everywhere. Um, so yeah, I think they should capitalize on this. Just keep pumping it out. I feel like it's gonna be dollar signs, hopefully, until people get tired of it, and people always get tired of it. So,
Well, that was my next question actually.
hmm
Like they made these last two movies pretty well. Actually, I guess King of the Monsters was also pretty close. Within the
yeah,
last 5 years, we've gotten three Godzilla movies, although this was probably more of a King Kong movie, if we're being honest.
for sure.
But, now that it seems like they're both gonna be in the same movies going forward, at least a decent amount,
hmm
um, I don't like how many more of these can you do?
Not too many, I think.
Okay. I'm curious because I mean honestly, because I think the story is so like the human side of the story. I'm into the
Hmm.
monster side of the story.
Sure.
I wanted more of that. I want more when they were reading all the history and stuff in the
Hmm.
tomb or whatever. I was like, hell yeah, give me more of this.
Hmm.
Um, Clearly also another thing they just didn't want to animate. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
we're just gonna read it. We're not gonna animate old Godzilla
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
but I was like, oh, this is awesome. I don't give a shit about this like little girl
Hmm.
who can talk to King Kong. I don't care about her.
Right.
Like I want to know the history of the MonsterVerse and the rivalries and like who hates who and who's on
Hmm.
each other's
Hmm.
sides and like so honestly, part of me sort of thinks like, jokingly, I talked about like this is becoming the Transformers franchise,
Yeah.
but those movies are still fun.
They are.
Like they made a shitload of Transformers movies, and
Hmm. Hmm.
at least the recent one, which I guess was the first time I'd seen one in a little bit. Well, no, Bumblebee was good too.
Yeah, it was.
They're like fun movies.
Yeah.
So part of me kind of thinks like, if the idea is to just lean heavier into the monster side of things, I don't know if I would get like I don't think I
Hmm.
would get bored. I don't know how many like hardcore MonsterVerse fans would be like, all right, I don't want to see a fifth Godzilla Kong team up movie.
Yep.
Um, but I don't know, for someone on the outside who's like a very casual fan and just sort of like likes that I can turn my brain off, like as much as I clown on the human story of the movie, I think it's
Yeah.
smart that it's not that interesting.
Yeah.
Because like I'm not there to see whoever those actors were besides Dan Stevens and Brian Tyree Henry.
Yeah.
I couldn't name you anybody else in that movie.
Same.
Um, but that's fine because the people like the ones I'm there to see are Godzilla and Kong. Like I'm there to
Hmm.
watch them kick ass.
Yeah.
I could see a shitload of those movies probably before I got bored, but I'm curious, like, I don't know, do you think eventually, like, even hardcore fans kind of want a break, or do you think this could sort of be like Transformers fan base, which is like they will go see all of them, like,
I mean, even
doesn't
then,
matter.
I think Transformers fans also got tired, sick and tired. You know, they wanted an actual humanistic story.
I
You
guess they
know,
did like kind of reboot it a few years
no,
ago.
they did reboot it with Bumblebee, and
Yeah.
even the last one wasn't that bad. Rise of the Beast was pretty good. I
I
thought
thought
it
that
was,
movie was awesome. That was like
yeah,
the most fun I had in a movie
yeah.
theater besides like Cocaine Bear last year.
But I could. It's with fans in any fan base, it's hard to say. For me
Hmm.
personally, I honestly feel like I could get tired. The fatigue can be real. But I'm enjoying the ride. And once I get tired, I'll get tired, sure. Or maybe I won't. Because everything I've seen in terms of Godzilla, I had to wait decades for. Everything I
Hmm.
saw was previously passed beyond my years, essentially.
Hmm.
So, you know, I'm happy with what we're doing. I'm happy with what's going on. Keep it going, keep pumping it out until it doesn't work anymore. I don't want it though to be like, let's throw shit at the wall and see if it sticks. Let's not do
Right.
that. Let's, you know, keep hiring people that are fans of this franchise who want to be a part of this franchise and don't want to just get a check. They want to do fan service and, just show monsters fighting for a couple more years. Because
Do you think that they start to space these out a little bit more, or do you think like would you be stunned if we get a trailer for the next one next year?
I would be stunned, honestly. I honestly would. And then I,
Okay.
I would, it's like video games. Some
These are
people,
getting pretty close together. Like
they are.
if King of the Monsters was 2019 and Godzilla vs. Kong was 2021,
2021. Holy shit, you're right.
and then this was 2024 and they moved it up. Well, not by that much,
A
but like
couple
they did
weeks.
move it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I do I would not I honestly would not be surprised if they have the next one planned for 26.
That's more feasible. If they did it next
Unless
year, though, like that'd be kind of crazy. Even then,
that would be a
2026.
crazy turnaround. Yeah. The only thing I could see is like Japan has next up,
Yeah.
and maybe they want to like give each movie like time to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Although minus one is kind of in an interesting spot because like originally they weren't even gonna have it playing for very long, and then like
Yeah. Yeah.
that movie got
It's
like a
true.
3 month long theatrical run, which was awesome.
Which is even unheard of nowadays.
Yeah, seriously.
Um.
And they even released it like again in black and white, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody saw that coming. Um,
So I don't know.
but
We'll see. Like
Yeah.
I said, let's enjoy the ride. If you're in it for the long run, buddy, let's do it together.
Yeah, man. Hey, look, this is one of those instances where I prefer not being a hardcore fan.
Hmm.
I don't know much about the Monsterverse, but I know that when I go to these movies, I'm gonna have fun.
Yeah,
It might take a little while because there's a lot of human story bullshit that they need to get through.
sure.
But I do know when the action starts, it's gonna fucking slap. Like it's gonna be awesome. Monsters are gonna be kicking the shit out of each other. That is
Will
why I
Smith.
go,
Yep.
and that's what I got from this movie. I got what I wanted to see.
Hell yeah. I got what I wanted to see and even more some and that's fine by me. I'm ready for more. Bring it on. But I think that's it. Anything else before we wrap it all up?
Hopefully they can keep this going. It's cool to see Godzilla and Kong in the mainstream. I do want to say real quick,
Hmm. Hmm.
King Kong looked incredible.
Yeah.
Like the CGI in this movie was good in general, but like King Kong specifically,
Yeah. They went all out for him.
dude, I like the strands of hair.
Yeah.
It was like I was so impressed.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I'd have to go back to the last one, but I because I know he looked good in that one too. But like, god damn, they're doing so well on King Kong. No wonder he was in so much of the movie.
I know, right? That's hey, he's technically an American product, so
It was very clear that they were like, yeah, this is the American version
hmm.
of King
Hmm.
Kong. But King Kong's awesome.
Yeah, what are you gonna
Uh,
do?
and they keep giving him accessories, so that's fun. Now he's got a power arm and a
Yep,
and an axe. So he's pretty decked out. He might be able to do the next movie on his own.
probably, but we want
Hopefully
more
he does.
Godzilla and you want more of us. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing and giving us some feedback. Let's talk more about the monsters, beautiful people of the universe, of the
Yeah.
podcasting world. So, thank you so much for listening. I love you all. Chris, myself, Frankie. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.